And welcome to another episode of the Friendly Natter from Parent Friendly Schools. We're here today with some of our colleagues that we're excited to introduce you to talk about those things that are creeping up on us in the school world, which are open evenings or mornings or days, whatever format your school chooses to use. So before we do anything else, I would love my colleagues to introduce themselves. Sarah, can we start with you?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a community engagement executive based in Yorkshire and the Humber at Parentkind. So I support schools and PTAs and parents to set up and keep their PTAs running as effectively as possible.
And importantly, Sarah, you are also
I am a parent, so I've got 3 children. They are currently in year 1, year 3, and year 5.
Amazing, thank you.
Jo? You're tired. You must be tired.
Sorry, Jo.
So I'm Jo. I'm also a community engagement executive, but I am based in Scotland, and I am a PTA chair, and I'm a mum to 2 girls. So I have a wee girl in primary 3, which is the same as your year 2, for those based in England, and I have a high schooler as well. So she's in 2nd year. So I've been to both types of open evenings, which is great.
Amazing. And Ruth?
So I'm Ruth, the Community Engagement Executive for the Northwest here at Parentkind. Parent of 2. I have a daughter who's just started high school this September, and my son is in year 2 at a lovely little local primary school. Like Sarah and Jo, I'm supporting the local parents, PTA volunteers via membership and schools, as well as sort of spreading the message of the work that our colleagues are doing in parent-friendly schools, our parent programs. That's what we do.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. So we want to talk about open evenings, open days, open mornings. Can you tell us about some of your experience with what you've had in your both primary and secondary settings, and essentially how those experiences have made you feel? Obviously, we don't want to pull out any bad practice and name anything, but just talk generally about your experience. By all means, shout out great practice.
Are you sure we don't? Because sorry.
No, naming. This is not a space for naming and shaming. No, absolutely not. But we will celebrate
anymore.
Yeah, right. No, we can celebrate. Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Go on, Sarah.
You go first. Sarah.
A lot of this is gut. Like you go to schools as a parent, and you use your instincts. I think is a lot of it. You know, I'm an ex-teacher, and people do say to me, "Oh, I've got an open evening. What shall I ask?" And I'm like, "What do you want to ask? You ask what you want to ask. I'm not telling you." Because I think it's quite personal. And I know when I looked around schools, my eldest is my only girl. So when I looked around for my daughter, I asked the same question at every school I went to as a bit of a baseline for me, just to kind of compare, not necessarily what they answered, because I already knew the answer. I'd looked on their website and found out my answer, but it was kind of, I was testing the way they answered, the way the staff spoke to me. One school staff member said, "Oh, I don't really know, I just work in the office." And I was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing the tour, should you?" There you go, schools, there's a pointer. Have someone who knows the school doing the tour. But yeah, I think you just kind of get a bit of a feel for it as well.
Yeah, Jo, what creates that feeling for you? What is your instinct seeking, do you think?
See, the first one that I ever went to in the primary school was obviously my first experience of this. That was my oldest going to school, and what I found was it was very much a presentation of, this is the curriculum and this is what we're doing and this is this and this, and it was all jargon and I didn't have a clue what any of these words meant, and I went away feeling a bit like, oh, should I have studied before this? All I really wanted to do was go and have a look at the classrooms and have a bit of a nosy, to be quite honest. And when I went to the first one at the high school, that was very much what we did. We got a short presentation, but it wasn't all jargon. It was just sort of like, these are our catchment areas, these are the schools, the feeder schools for this high school. And now we're going to have some pupils take you round, and we got to go see the English department, the maths department. And that was really what I wanted. I wanted to be able to visualize the classrooms that my child was going to be in. That's what I wanted to see. I think there is a space for all the curriculum bits and to have an open evening for that. But I think to start with, just this is where your child's going to be for the next year. This is who the staff that they're going to be dealing with, is a nice sort of opener to get the parents involved. Because I think if you go too hard, you put them
Sure.
off. You make it
It's
too
about safe
academic.
spaces, safe relationships
Yeah.
before it's about learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Ruth, is that similar to your experience at all?
Kind of. With my two children, I'll sort of explain a bit why a bit later, but I'll have very different secondary experiences for both of them. But for my eldest, we visited 3 fairly local primary schools. One was out of catchment, but it was a big school, so we just wanted to see what it was like. And I think we knew we didn't really have a chance of getting in. But I took my daughter to one of the schools with me, which was the one that we decided we'd like her to go to. It just had a really lovely warm atmosphere, and they had sort of we visited the reception classroom. They had their sort of I can't even think what it's called, the make-believe corner, you know, where they have a setting put up, and it was like a dinner table with some wooden plates on. I think I might have taken her to one of the other schools, and we had a chat with her, and we said, so which school do you think you'd like? Not that you expect a 4-year-old to be in charge of their own education, but just to see what she thought. And she said, I want to go to the plate school, which was the one that we'd decided we wanted her to go to anyway. So that was lovely. And we didn't even need to think twice about it when my son was due to start school, because I'd been on the PTA for such a long time. He'd been in and out of the school with me. He'd be very familiar with the setting. He'd have his older sibling there. And we were just really happy with the school from there off. But our sort of areas got a bit of a very traditional setup. There's a boys' school, a girls' school, and a grammar school. There's no mixed option locally for secondary school. So we visited the girls' high school when when my daughter was in year 5. We just snuck in, and I was really resistant to the idea of a single-sex school. Just didn't like the idea of a poisonous environment of nasty little girls, because we can all be like that when we are young and don't know any better and haven't experienced the world. So, you know, we've all been there. And I didn't really want to like it, but I did. The classrooms were just full of the most incredible, detailed, beautiful classwork. They had a really amazing IT department. They had about 7 3D printers. But the one thing that I really, really loved was that they had an experiment set up with a Van de Graaff generator, which I remember doing when I was at school. And I thought, my daughter will be able to share some of the things that, you know, I learned and enjoyed at school. And she was standing there with her hands on it, with her hair sticking up in the air. Oh, it's brilliant. So it's little things like that. The girls were approachable on the evening. The students, the staff were, you know, very, very approachable. And the head is quite modern. She's into everything, but she's very, very welcoming of parents into the school. And they have a PTA there as well. So I know that parental engagement is something that they encourage and they want. And my daughter might not want the same, but I want to be involved in her education. So she stuck with it.
Brilliant. We talk a lot about parental engagement and parental participation, obviously, as parent-friendly schools, and the difference between the two is really important to us. And we want to help move schools from engagement, just interacting with the school, to actually participating and becoming active rather than just passive parents within the school community.
It's what you're doing, youth, all the time, wanting to be there and be part of the education process rather than receive that information.
Yeah, and not disruptively, but helpfully, which is why we want to help schools get this right, so that becomes facilitated and possible in a, as you say, friendly, approachable was a word you just used often, in way. How let's use your really positive experience of that school that you weren't expecting to like to talk about what you are actually looking for then. What are the key things that are going to create those feelings of surprise and delight, and this is where I would be happy and comfortable with my child spending the next 5, 7, depending on the school setting, years of their lives. What's important to you?
For me, that initial kind of organisation, the way things are set up, and maybe this is because I'm an ex-teacher, but that to me sets off that initial kind of, okay, everyone knows what's going on here. If they can do that, then they've probably got robust policies in place. Their safeguarding's probably on point. It's little things like that I kind of pick up on, that everyone knows what's happening and what they're supposed to be doing, and this is led by a strong leadership team, and that kind of puts me at ease. I did go to one school which we didn't put down as one of our 3 choices, where I didn't get that sense.
Sure.
It seemed like the leadership team were, oh, we'll try this. Oh, that didn't work. Panic. Oh, we'll try this. They didn't know what phonics scheme they were using, and they seemed to be using 3 or 4 from what I could see. They kind of had a display of read, write, ink, but they told me they were using letters and sounds, and then they were singing jolly phonics, and I was like, So I think being clear about what's going on, having a well presented school, you don't want to see clutter. You want to see, like Ruth said, really nice displays of children's work that looks cherished and looked after, and children are going to be proud of that. And then the other big thing for me is, I know it's a bit of an education term, but broad and balanced. It's not all about English and maths. I want my children to be nurtured and have those experiences and make their own choices of, do I want to pursue arts or sport or IT or a little bit of everything, because I've got that opportunity, and I'm not just in an exam factory.
Yeah, absolutely. How does that sit with you, Jo?
I think I agree with everything that you said. If they're well put together when you go to visit them, then it does give a really good impression. But what I also liked when I've been to, we have obviously an open evening or meet the teacher afternoon every year, so that you can meet the new teacher for that year. And we've actually got one coming up soon, which I'm quite looking forward to. But I always think it's nice when you go in, and especially when I went to the high school to visit, that all the senior leadership know the names of all the children, which in a school of like 1,500 pupils, that's a huge feat. I'm sure they don't know all of them, but like the year head knows absolutely everybody. The head teacher seemed to know everybody that was there, and the senior pupils were helping, and we're all laughing and joking together with them. So they obviously do have a bond, and I think that's really nice to see that the teachers can be approachable, and that the kids will go to them if they need to. And the same can be said for the primary school as well. Like even our cleaning supervisor or janitor, they know the name of every single child in that school, which is great. So you've not just got the actual teachers and the head teacher all looking after them. It's the whole team. It's the dinner ladies,
community,
everything. Yeah. So that's what absolutely. I really like about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We talked. Sarah talked about strong leadership as something she was looking for, and I was going to ask her to define what she meant by that, but then she talked a little bit more about what that was, and you've given an alternative but complementary sort of definition of what strong leadership is. It's interesting that you've pulled in the idea of being able to see current pupils with and interacting with staff and with potential new pupils, because it does give you that idea of what that relationship is between everyone who's an adult in the school and the young minds that they are helping to shape and form, while they work. So that's I really like that point that you've brought up, because I do think that's so impressionable upon somebody who's coming in, especially for a first time.
Yeah.
And I connect some of the dots as well.
Yeah,
So,
please do.
Sarah's your point about it not being an exam factory is partly to do with how the teachers interact with the kids, isn't it? So if there is that warmth, if there is that banter, you know that the welfare of, you can start to feel that the welfare of the child is as important as the results they then represent, because the teacher's taking the time to form that relationship, isn't it? Because I'm just thinking that all of these are really big concepts, but what do you look for when you're what might that mean is a little bit of what schools need to understand, that it's the small details that you're mentioning that have a massive impact on the judgments that you're making, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to pull in my favorite thing that's been said so far was actually Ruth talking about her 4-year-old thinking she's decided her own school because she wanted to go to the plate school. But and you say, you know, it's not for the 4-year-old to decide, but the point is she was inspired by the setting that you took her into. It, you know, it awakened whatever, a sense of play, curiosity, imagination, and that was engaging enough for her to want to be in that space. And I think, certainly as a teacher in a school or a leader in a school, whether it's a primary, a junior, a high school, whatever, that's what I would want to be doing, inspiring curiosity and imagination and creativity and interest in what's going on around me and the opportunities, as you say, available to me, so that the will is there from the child to participate. That's kind of what I've picked up mostly within this.
What's Ruth's thoughts? Where are you? What do you specifically look for?
I want my children to feel comfortable going to school, which I think is I've remembered now, it's called the home corner. And it you know, it must, for my daughter, who was very, very much attached as a small child, and to a degree is now, but now that she's 11, it's on and off. And but I want my child to feel at home at school. And I understand that in secondary that can be a very different picture. You know, the primary school was a single form entry, and now my daughter's at a school with a 7-form entry. So for her to feel comfortable to go into school every day and to be ready to learn is really all that I want. Because if a child is willing to go, you know, that's the biggest battle in my eyes. If they're not willing, then they can't be engaging in the education. But once they're willing, their curiosity, their imagination, their motivation can all be inspired from that, you know, and children can feel seen when they feel comfortable. But if you don't feel comfortable, you'd really like to disappear, and that's not conducive to getting the best that you can out of education, in my eyes.
Learning, yeah.
It's really smart, because as a head of faculty, one of my biggest worries as a teacher was the below the radar kid. The kid that's a sole agenda for the day was never to be spotted, because those are the ones that usually need the teacher's support the most. The ones that are misbehaving have found a way of communicating their dis-ease in that situation. The bright ones can perform, but that's the one that I want to be able to spot. But how do you know a school is the one that will be doing that will spot a child that wants to be below the radar? What if you walked into a school, what would you be looking for this to happen, so you knew that would be the case?
I think it's really difficult, because open evenings tend to happen at the end of a school day, don't they? When, you know, at the end of my working day, and I'm not a teacher, I don't really want to be asking questions and meeting 400 people and trying to remember people's names, but somehow the teachers manage to do it. So if they remember my child's name, it means that they've been actively listening, not passively, which is important to me, because it's almost a bit like when you pass somebody in the corridor and say, "Hi, how are you?" and the other person just keeps walking. They don't want the answer. They just want to know that they've done the job of the greeting. So I want to know that they are actively listening as part of the engagement process. So it's simple, but if they remember my daughter's name or my son's name, that's a great start for me. In the sea of faces that they've met that evening, I know that they're switched on and that they're ready to welcome my child, the next child, into their school. And that's what one of the things I'd look for.
A good point. Present in the moment with you as well, I think. Yeah. So that they're giving you your time to have that. You'll know that then they'll give the time to the child, maybe.
Yeah. You're not an inconvenience. You're important. And I think if you can go and see the children actually there during the day, then like Ruth says, that's very different. But yeah, if it's an evening one, I think just even without children there, the way they're interacting with you, are they actually taking the time to look you in the face? It's that body language, isn't it? I can't remember the statistic now, but a huge % of how you present yourself is in your body language, not what you say. And I think if they're actually actively listening and showing you that, and even if they forget your name, which I can forgive because I'm terrible with names, but if they can kind of remember something about you, or, oh, you said earlier that your child is really interested in rugby. We've got rugby here, just something, just give us something.
Yeah. Something that shows that they're actually interested to be there, and not just because their boss has told them they have to go. And it's part of their job. You want to feel like they actually do want to be there, and they want to get to know parents or prospective parents, or because you're entrusting them with your most precious little cherubs. So you want to know, they've got a huge responsibility, and there's loads of little precious cherubs that are going, but you want to feel like they will give the time and attention that your little cherubs deserve. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We are absolutely at time. But we really appreciate all three of you coming on and giving your perspectives as parents, rather than us trying to say what we think as teachers, or ex-teachers. It's insightful and it's important. And I think I'd sum it up by saying what I think you've all said is that it's important, surprise, surprise, to feel seen and heard.
Yeah.
And for your child to feel seen and heard if the child is there. Also big surprise.
The school cares, right?
Yeah.
Some of that early stuff about knowing your stuff, being confident in the moment. Good work on the wall that shows that the kids' work matters.
Celebrate them. Yeah.
It is, but like you say, that moment of having a fully present human being who knows a little bit about you and is interested to listen is usually enough to build the trust that your child will be safe within that environment. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Superb.
We knew we'd got the right people. We knew we'd invited the right people, Anna. Me and you we were just going to chat nonsense about book tours and dart games.
Excellent displays, colourful displays. I liked my wonder wall when I had my classroom.
I used to think it was all down to how many cakes I bought for people.
Well, that's true.
Cakes are always good.
Oh, there we go. Now we're doing all this deep stuff, and now you're like, no,
brilliant.
You mentioned the magic word.
Oh. Yeah. There you go. That's how you get parents engaged. There you go. Offer them cake. We'll be there.
Cup of tea and
Seen
a cake,
and heard.
and they'll sit down.
Absolutely. There you go.
Thank you so much for your time. You've been.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.